Welcome back to this video. I remain Solomon Foske, and in this video we want to build a blink, and it's for beginners. Like, I believe this is your first blink, and we'll be building this blink, everything we'll learn, building the Solana action and everything. But I will not be explaining the basic for you because this is like B part. So I already did like the A part, where I went through what is Blink, how does it work, and everything you need to know as a developer, especially if it's your first time of getting, like, okay, you want to learn Blink development. So I encourage you to go back to that specific video first before you watch this. But if you already understand what Blink is, how it works, want to do, then you just now want to go into the development, then you can just stick to this. But if not, I suggest you should go back and watch that. Welcome, dear friend. I'm Solomon Foske, founder of dProgramming University, a free Web3 development education platform. Please note our content are for education purpose only, not financial, trading, investment, programming or development advice into any of the platform discussed. Always do your own research. And please, we may get sponsorship, partnership, token or whatever form during, before or after creating this content, but we try as much as possible to remain unbiased and make it educative. If that agreed on, let's get right into this content. Now that's settled, we are going to build this, and we'll be able to send transaction just like a memo, but we'll learn a lot setting the image and doing a lot of things. And also we have the repo for you as well. So if you have been in the part A, you know that this part of a full guide, which the link is in the description. And like I told you, we have gone through each and every one of this. And now this section we want to look at, we have done 4, 5 is where we are now, which is setting up development environment. So if we go here now, that's what I said. I just want to focus on how you can set up the development environment and build your first Solana actions, which is now on 4 to Blink. Like I told you, if you have to ask the question, I will not respond. If you don't know what Solana action is, watch the first video. If you don't have the time, I don't also have the time to respond to you, because I've given enough energy and time to do that in-depth section A. So please check it again. Now it is time for us to start setting up and building our Solana action. And then, so these are the things you need. You need Node.js, your IDE. I use VS Code. Then VS Code extension, Thunder client is optional, but it's good if you are dealing with API requests, and you can just test it within VS Code, so without a front end. Then Solana Web3.js package, we'll install this later, and then Solana actions package. So you will see the advantage of this as well. So essential things to have or to know, like I've explained earlier, we need get request. This will hold the metadata. Remember this particular thing, all these things, they are metadata. So where does all these things lives that show in the button and everything, that's your metadata of your blinks. So how do you set it? So you need to hold it, including the image. As you can see, the image you have here, so you can have different image, you will see it. Then the options I've explained previously as well, which is help with the pre-flight. That's why when we have this, before we installed the we set up the blinks using I think we are using this extension. So before we did the setup, this was it. It wasn't unfolding on X, Twitter, but now once we install it, it's now interpreting it as this blinks. So we want to look at all those posts. I told you it will do a pre-flight. If it doesn't work, then it will do nothing. If it works, then it will unfold it, change it from just your normal regular link that you need to click, and then you can start interacting there. Now, once you have that, we also need the post request. Like I said, the API, I also mentioned in previous one, if you are new to API, this I don't think should be the first thing you should do. You should go and take this course. This is the 100 days we did development bootcamp, but the courses were free and still free and available. Just sign up. You don't even need to sign up to access some of it, but sign up so you keep track, and in future if you are releasing some things for students, you don't miss it, including certification and things like that. But for now, those are not available yet. So you can learn about API, GraphQL, all these things are super important. So once you understand that, you understand why post request is important and what it's for. Then inside that, we handle the transaction that tells Solana blockchain which action to be executed. For example, is it to mint NFT, vote for a DAO, donate, add a memo, like in our case that we'll be doing. So inside that transaction, what actually is inside like a Solana transaction, we have the action, like we said, to execute, then contain fee payer. Like I told you, we'll build this together. So it's not just about theoretical explanation, but it's good to have understanding. Then as you are building, coding, you will see what you are doing. So you need to provide the fee payer, because don't forget this is a transaction to the blockchain, and you will usually pay a fee no matter how small it is. So either the user or gas relayer, these are like program that pay the gas on behalf of the user. So paying for the transaction to be executed. So good, we can easily access this via the Solana Web3.js package. So all these are handled by the package. Then we have the cluster. You need to also have your cluster, which is either mainnet, devnet, or testnet. So you usually deal with this or the mainnet. Then is required to have access to the block hash on the cluster. Then the recent block hash. Then we return the payload, including the cost header. All this, don't fret, we'll do them step by step. Then creating your first Solana action. Now we need to create our first Solana action. Let's now get back into the practical step by step. So let's scroll back up. We need we need to make sure you have all this installed. If you're already a developer, you should have all this, your IDE, but majorly these two packages. So I will show you where and when you need to set it up. So you can follow the guide one by one, and if you have been in the program, I always take my time to explain things step by step. And I always say it, if you feel the content is too long, skip to where you need to. But what I don't want is beginners to get confused. So I always do everything and everyone is a beginner in context. So you may not be a beginner overall in terms of your development, but many things, when you are just learning to build it, you are a beginner in that specific aspect. So you are usually confused with some things. And that's the mindset I build my content with. So now this says create a folder called Blink. So let's get to do that. Here now I have this. Let me Usually I'm using Linux, depending on what you're using. Just get your folder you want to develop on, and for me, I will open a terminal, and inside the terminal I can now start dealing with the terminal, which the first thing you want to do is to create the folder I call blinks. If I paste here, oh sorry, you just create a new folder. You can just create it. So we'll install this directly. So we have this, I have one there before, so we have this now. Once you create the folder here in wherever you want to, then before you now click on open in terminal, so open that folder in terminal, however you do it on your own OS. Then the next thing you want to do now is code, which is the shortcut for VS Code to open. Dot means that particular folder. That's why you should make sure you have opened into that folder. This is it, blinks one memo. Then we enter. So what will happen, it open the VS Code for us. And here we have it. We have nothing here now. Remember, the folder is totally empty. We don't have anything there. So let's go on to the next step. Says you have something like this. Then for my existing students, they know when it comes to using Node package manager, I prefer npm. So, and if you want to install, if you are using npm, I prefer pnpm. Sorry. So if you are using npm, you will use npx without the p, then the rest. Then if you are using maybe yarn or whatever, but if you are using pnpm like I do, then you can just copy this and paste it to install. Yes, I think we should just open, once you have it, open a terminal. I think the instruction is there, good. Open a terminal. So inside the terminal, you can paste that so that I can create it for us inside here. So you can see what's your project name. Since we want to make it right inside there, you can just, put dots. So that will mean the actual folder you are having. Or if you just want to set it up afresh, then you can have the name there. So would you like to use TypeScript? So we have everything, yes, except the directory is no, and to customize the import. So let's have this to be yes, to use TypeScript. I love to use TypeScript. Would you like to use EastLint? Yes. Would you like to use Tailwind? Yes. No, I don't want the SRC. That's the old directory. I want the new app directory. So no. Then use the app router recommended. Yes. Then would you like to customize? No. That's it. And then bam, we have this. If you go back as well to our folder, is now fully, you can see it is now fully having all the details we need. So we have that set up, and you will see it's trying to install all the packages and dependencies that comes with the Next.js. So you need to await that to install. Then once it's done, I will be back. Cool. I have all dependencies have been installed. And if we go back here now, you can do pnpm I, which is the short form of pnpm install pnpm I. So what that means is you want to make sure everything is installed. So it has to tell you already up to date. And once we have that, we can run the developer server. Pnpm div. Hopefully it seems to have other things running. Yeah. So usually this will run by default import 3000, but in case maybe you have other project I'm working on in VS Code or other that is already using the port, it might be 3245 or something, but it will find the available. And so just make sure you have this, and you follow the link on that to, I think if I click Control, yeah, to make it much clickable, and then can have it here. So good, you have this is the default that you will see, and that's successfully done. So the next step is, I said we should open terminal 2 and leave server as above. Install Solana action package and Solana Web3 JS. So now we have set up Next.js. It is now time to integrate the API into it, which is the Solana action, to build that out, which will now be on 4 in the front end, like Twitter and more into blinks. Here, let's check. Yeah, I need to install this, so let me copy. Remember those two things. They have a lot of things like the Solana, the action is specifically for Solana action. So a lot of things has been set up that makes it easier for us to write a shorter code and get better results instead of writing everything out ourselves to build a Solana action. So it's a good one. Thanks to the team, Solana Foundation delivery team, for that. Then the Web3.js, as usual, I give you access to wallet, transaction, and things like that. So let's open another terminal, which you can just click this plus sign. Leave this open to keep running, and I always like to even bring it to the bottom. So it will be running, and then at the top, but you can leave it. So don't close the server, because once you stop it here, the server will not run. So here now, let's go and paste. If we check our package JSON now, you can see we don't have those. You can see the dependency, so we need them there. Let me paste and then enter. So if you can follow the guide, I'll always make sure those guide we can follow it step by step. So we have those two installed. I always like it to, after I install anything, I try to run pnpm I that install to check that everything is up to date, all the dependencies. So you can see it just installs Solana actions and Solana Web3.js, and just for us. So here now, let's move on. So it's time now to set up Solana Blink action API route. So for you, if you are like I told you, if you have gone through this course, you will be familiar with setting up API and things. So now we want to set it up inside our Next.js. You can also use other things without Next.js, maybe or the Next.js, you just use the front end, or just pure React.js. Then you can have a back end that could undo it. So as long as you can create an API, you can set up your Solana action there. So here now, it says we should create then API folder. So inside the app, we are using the app directory, so I'm not using the src. Go there and create a new folder called API. So at times some installation come with default sample. So this API route is already being handled by Next.js. So inside there now we want to create the actions, and then we create the memo. So another folder called actions. So what this does is we have this API route is like a default configuration of Next.js. So you can put, once it sees API, it can run those things for you. So we have the actions, though you can just name other things, but this is like the convention you use to easily identify, okay, these things are the APIs. Now we have the actions, so which means you can have multiple APIs inside the actions folder. We know, okay, these are Solana actions, so you can name it anything, but following this guide, just telling you so that in case you want to create, you are not restricted, you can give it any name. Then inside here now, we want to create core memo. So that's another folder called memo. So that memo itself is the actual thing, but for it to run, we have to make it create a route.ts file inside of it. So that's what we make it to be run like an API. So if we go now, let's go back. We have this site, make sure it's still on. Refresh it, it's on. If we'll click here /API, for sure you don't need /app because it's already showing the home. Then sorry, API /actions/memo. Enter. So you see this now. Problem, continue, refresh. So this is not working. You can see it, but you can see that it's not like maybe 404 page not found or something like that. Do you see it? When I had S, it said this page could not be found. So that tells you that it has found it, but seems nothing is there. You see the difference now. Yeah. So let's come back here, and in this route, because it's actually empty, let's now build out our actions. So the next thing, we have set up all this, how to create Solana action, get and post request. So remember in the previous section, I told you that we would need to set up get and post request API route. So the get request is what will contain all this metadata that will be displayed, and the post request is what will do the transaction that will bundle whatever the user sent in from here to the blockchain. So let's check out, remember those essential things about them. You can read the guide as well. That's why you have a detailed guide you can go through if you forget any. So we can create that below inside the route.ts. First, import from Solana action npm package, and remember those packages we installed. It's time to first import them. So just paste this here, and you see all this is because we have declared them and we need to use them. So what we are just doing is we are importing those things we need. Like these are the two things from Solana action and from Web3. So from the action, we need action post response. Remember the course header I told you. So instead of constructing it and getting error, it's like it has been pre-made for you. You just make use of it. So that's why we import them. We need to create post response. Then why you see memo program IDs, because what we want to do, you are interacting, don't forget you are interacting with the blockchain. So we need a program. So in this case, it means you yourself, you can deploy your program and then interact with it. That's why I said in section 1 of this, how to set up and build your Solana action and blinks, that it helps developer to reach more people. So which means you can still develop your normal Solana program, deploy it, but then you can now use Blink to make people interact with it on different platforms easily. So in that case, it will be your own program ID. You understand? Yeah. So then action get response and action post request. So all this, we are dealing with get response. You will get your response and things like that. So all this has been built, so you don't need to write much code. Then in your normal Web3.js, you need your public key, that's the wallet address. Remember, we said you need connection, which will contain things like the cluster and some other things like that. Then we need the compute budget with this program as well. And then, like I said, the cluster, well, is it mainnet, is it devnet, or things like that. Then your transaction, as usual, you want to bundle your transaction and send it, and transaction instruction. So let's move on to the next one, which then declare the Blinks action get API request. So we have the action API request here. Now some will like, okay, I could just like be typing this out, but one thing I also trying to adjust in my tutorials and courses is that we are in AI age, and a lot of these things people don't usually need to type them out. That's the fact. So you don't usually need to type this before you know the code. What really matters is getting it, because you can easily just go to AI and ask AI. And I always recommend AI become part of your development at this age, so you don't get left behind. So you can always ask AI to answer all this for you. So here I want to post this, and this give us, and you see some of those things we've made use of here are now brighter, which is I will run you through what we are doing here. We have, normally if you are doing your API, these are how you structure like your API request. Get request, you want to output some things like that. So, but for this Solana Blinks, there are strict formats you should follow. If you don't follow it, it won't work that way. So, and this is what you have in the get response. There are a lot of code you need to write, but they have already abstract that, and all you need is for you to just fill in. Once you fill in the details, this will handle it for you. That's why you have, and you see it's the major. The only one is just left is to return the response, which contain the action course header that I told you. Go to implementation, so you can see it. These are what you yourself ought to declare yourself as a developer to make sure you don't have course error. But all these things has been declared for us. We don't need the same. If you go here under the action, if you go to reference, implementation, so this doesn't really lead us in. I think it's more inside the module, but you get what I'm trying to pass across there. So a lot of things has been done to make things much easier. So we need to fill in the title. As you can see, you pull on your title here, you put in the icon. So that's when you begin to check here. We have icon, we have title, we have this place is the description, then we have your transaction, the button, and all those things. So all these are from the get request section. But these buttons, anything that we interact with, is from the post section, which we'll still get to. So here now, if we try to look at, let's see this here. I think I also need to move this a bit. Yeah, so we can even see it side by side. Cool. So now, because we need to see as we are building it here, so then you have the icon. That's the icon. You should put the icon wherever you want to, like, host your icon. Make sure you put it. So I think inside here, the guide as well showed us, like, we'll go through that as well, so you can see. So we declare the link and add a feature image for Blink. So to add it, get the image ready, be it in different formats. It could be JPEG, it could be PNG, and even GIF. That means some action for animated image, like you've seen it in that X that is animated image as well. So this is an animated image, so you can use animated image or not. So the next thing you want to check here is ensure the image name is the same, just to make sure it's not broken, and add it inside the public folder. We have our public folder, so where you can have your images and things like that. Then the reference in the icon, so it must be in this icon. And this one, like I told you, it has a strict format you should follow. Any little deviation may cause your blinks not to work, your action not to be on 4 to a blinks. Then you have the description, which, like I told you, is what will be displayed here. As you can see, it is what you will have here, as showing here. So you have the description here as well. Then label, you have the label, which is the button. So, but you won't see that button, which I will show you as I learn. I just want to explain first. This link allow you to have like multiple buttons. Look at it with multiple buttons and where the reference and things like that. So if there are any button inside there, then this default one will not show. But if there is not, then it can show that. So let's save this. I've not saved it. And the first thing, you want to refresh this same link. You can see it. It's now showing precisely what we have here. You see it? So this is our GET request. You can see it is showing every details we have here. Now that shows our API endpoint is working. It's already able to do GET request, but now it cannot post. So we need to also as well check. So if we do this, for you to check it out, you can use the DYOR platform. I've told you I'll put you through that as well. So you come, you post, and then you submit. Then you see it, that the image is broken, but you already see this. It's showing this action. Is not yet registered. Link example. No, let's see. Let's refresh. Are we seeing the? You see it as is the actual one. So, and you can see it that's showing the button as well that we have here. But these buttons are not working. They can't work. This one is rolling because I just put URL, so it's trying to visit the URL. But actually, if you want, it's failed to fetch because we don't have the post request set. But at least you can see it that is working already. So the title, then you can have whatever description, just to show you that that's what we are working on. You see it, AAA, then I can remove it. You need to always refresh this. It doesn't auto refresh. So we have something like the look. We need the image to be fixed as well. So you also get your image. Based on my own experience, I usually use 1024 pixel by 1024 square, and it fits perfectly. So they also recommend something like 440 pixel by 440. Just make sure it's square because it usually show like a square. Now, once you have that image there, I have my image here. Let me drag it inside the public so you can see it now. This is it. And save. I think let's give it another try. So if that is done right, it should show it now. We'll see now if this is working. So it's not loading. You try to see what is happening. We have, is the name the same? Memo blinks. Let's see. Oops, nope. Let's try to copy here. Copy the old name. And come back here inside our root and make sure that's the name. So I believe that's the issue. Let's try. Save and then refresh. Good. So you can see it now that we have the image and looks much beautiful now. You see nothing is cropped off from the image because of the size and the square. So usually from like 440 pixels square, both sides are the same, you will be better. And if it is animated GIF, you see it will work as well. So we have this already built now. We have these sets, which you can change whatever you want to change. But then we don't have any of these to work yet. If we click them, it's just filling. So it's just filling. So we need to work on that. Let's go back. Let's add option. Remember the option that I said it will do some pre-flights. So it's so important even before we move on to the posts. Then the next is now the post request. This is expected to hold the Solana transaction. I've told you the transaction will contain about 5 things. Who will pay for the gas fee? Remember, it's a blockchain transaction. So who will pay for the gas fee? the transaction instruction and other things like the cluster and everything will be added, as you can see. So if we copy this now over and paste it here. So what does this do? Let's try and check. I've also included some instruction as well. So and some of them also came from examples from Solana Foundation DVO. So let's see. Yeah, this is the post. You can see it. Then just you have the action get request, await request. You remember we have explained how the request goes between your Blink's front end and like your backend, the action.js. So we have the public key, which all these are coming from the Web3.js. And if you look now, a lot of all this, you see it, public key. So we need to confirm that the public key, and the public key is the wallet of the user interacting with that Blink. So we need to be sure that it's valid, because it's part of those things we need to use to sign our transaction and things like that. So the next is our connection. See, Solana cluster. You can have DevNet, mainnet, beta. So if you want to connect with DevNet or if you want to connect with mainnet, you set it here. Then this is the actual transaction, which will be different based on the type of transaction. Maybe it's donation or things like that. But this is a memo based. So you see we are calling the memo program ID. This is it here that we're calling here. And then this what the message that's outputting. Like this is a simple memo message from the programming university.com student. So then the next is set the end user. Remember I said the payer, somebody must pay for the fee. So the next you want to do is you get the latest block hash, which you need the connection that we added earlier. Then what's the payload? We need the payload to add. Like I told you, all these are just your normal Solana transaction that you will set up. So that's why you have your AI tool. Like I always tell you, there's all these things. Once you have the basic understanding, you can always speak to AI to, okay, create example of a Solana transaction for me, or paste something like this example code and say, okay, following this pattern for Solana action, create the same for me, but for donation and things. And then these things with AI will help you. Then remember the normal cursor, cursor. Then it caches if there's error. That's all that we have as well that's doing. So how do you now, before you can begin to have full action, let's see. If we retry this, you can see if they are validations, but because it's local, when you do it on your website that is live, then it will show everything for you here. So let's go back. Here now we have this. You see it now. That's now executing and it's popping up the wallet because we have this transaction set up compared to before that was just showing fail because it wouldn't fetch, because inside there we have said it. This label represents the button, and this one, look at it like making requests to the particular post function you want it to activate, request that you want it to activate. So that's why we are using this. And then you see the second one was trying to just point to the website. So inside there now you can connect with the wallet and make transaction. So, and then another thing I want to see for you here, you can switch between DivNet and mainnet. Yeah, so if you are testing, you are on DevNet, you want to test on DevNet, then you can just test things out. But if you are also, before you even make it public, you should also now test it on mainnet. So on DivNet, you don't need any rules, so you just need the normal DevNet. So, but at times I've had the issue that when I try on the DevNet, I may not easily see the transaction I did. So, but at least you know that it's there, you can try it out. So now it's like on DevNet, and if it's on DevNet, you also need to set your wallet to DevNet. So your wallet as well need to go on DevNet. For example, let's see if it's using Phantom. I think currently they are just doing the Phantom. Maybe there's issue with Souffle or something. So you can see it now. You need to make sure you set active network, no? Now developer settings, test mode. So you make sure you see Solana DevNet is on. So you see it now, it's in DevNet. So don't have your wallet in mainnet and then trying to do DevNet. Make sure they are on the same. If you are testing with DevNet, the wallet you are connecting should also be in DevNet. So you can see that this doesn't even have, does it even have any DevNet should come in? Okay, there is a SO here. So about 2.9 SO for DevNet. So I can now test. So make sure that's super important. Either you are using Souffle or something. This wallet, this must be the same with the state of the wallet. Now, once we have this, let me cancel and try again. You know, I've changed it to DevNet. So let's send memo. Remove it here. And then this is based on maybe my connection network. You see it, you have some of this error couldn't fetch network fee because it's on testnet. So only confirm if you trust. So I'm just doing it because on testnet. So you see it completed. And the third thing you should remember is this should also be DevNet, sorry. Remember here, this should also be. So those three things are part of issues you may have. Make sure if you want to test on DevNet, which should be like the first step, test, make sure this is DevNet, make sure this is also in DevNet, and your wallet is in DevNet. So if you should have those three things in DevNet, and if it is mainnet, first change it from here, set to mainnet and wallet to mainnet to ensure you don't have issues, so that you don't have DevNet here and trying to connect on mainnet and causing yourself stress. So once you can see now that we have this completed, post this memo on chain, and if you come here, you see it, that's the message that it return for us as part of the transaction response. Post this memo and it was completed. So you have your Blink built, and if we want to check, I think Phantom, you may not see because DevNet, I think I usually see it more on Soufflé. If I change this to DevNet first, then that same wallet here, you can see this. So if I check the activity, then I may be able to see, you can see this was the transaction. If I click here, then it will open it for me. So I think this is opening source scan. So you can see it loading. I think my network isn't that good now. So that's just the main point, that you have been able to see it now. I will build it and we try to connect as well. But there's something so important, even though it works, shows you something that you should not forget to add, which is your action JSON. It helps you to map. You see the action JSON, like you have your metadata, the OG metadata that help you to know what the site is about. So this gives better information. So we recommend you do this aspect. Is so essential as well. So for you to do that, all you need to do is create this folder called actions.json, then /root inside this, just like your API. Let's quickly do that. Inside this app folder, create actions.json, then /route.ts. So this helps to map. You will see, you can copy, and then I will tell you what you may adjust. Let's close this. Yeah, so inside the RTS, paste this. So the major thing is this, you see, mapping your route, so that with the API request, with blinks and all those things, makes it much easier. And that is what you are seeing here, which you see, this is giving me the path that we have our action. You can see it. It's API/action, and then you have memo or any other one. So the same, you see it. So this, you can change it based on whatever name you name your action folder and things like that. Then any other folder inside of it, then it can help to unfold them better. Every other thing remain the same. Just put it here. You can see the course header and others. So it's so essential to do it. I think even when initially you couldn't even make it to work without that JSON, but now it seems it can. But it's a very good practice to have that your JSON to help map, because after this, now that you have achieved this, if you want to go on mainnet, it's just the same like I told you. you just change from here and turn this to mainnet. That's why I've helped you put it. Just copy this and paste it inside here, replace it with this and put it mainnet. That's it. And then you come inside here where we loaded it, you refresh, you change it to mainnet, then you refresh, and the third thing you want to do, you go back to your Phantom wallet or whichever wallet they allow you to connect, and make sure you change that also. It's not showing the transaction, but you change that back. Where did we change it then? Developer setting, off that, and then film. We are back to mainnet. And once you refresh this, it's now on mainnet. And if you do transaction, you can have multiple buttons. This is just example, and part of we have the exercise in the guide is for you to implement this second button yourself, which will help you to learn more. You can see it that on the mainnet we now have a clearer something, including the programs you are working with. You see the memo, the complete program, and how much it will cost. This is very cheap. Then we click confirm, and then it's completed. So next thing, you click on the Phantom. Let's see. You can see it, app interaction, and you see it succeeded. View source scan. Can you see it now? That this, because it means, so at times on DevNet, those things don't really give you more details. So you can see like how much we paid for the gas fee for what we sent. And this, you see, this is simple memo message from the programming university student. So you can see that it works fine. And with that, you have your first Solana actions and then Solana blinks built. And from there onward, you can start working with a lot of things and a lot of idea. And you can also use other tools like Blink Inspector tool. You can try it out. And if you want to be added to the list of Blink built, you can submit on the platform built for Explore Web3 Blink list. So you can check it out as well. But also you can apply for grants. So there are grants that makes it, you see, Super Team Solana Blink grants. Then they usually are 72 hours, but from my experience, usually a week. And you may even need to reach out to them to get a response. So, but this, then I don't know, maybe you plan a month or 2 months. So, but at least it's there. You can give it a try as well. And then maybe if it, you can also try other Super Team Instagram as well. So these are different ways. If you build Blink, you can at least that work and could be unfold on. Usually you will need to register first before you can do that. Come in. If I search, you can see it if you need to register. And then when you register your Blink, for example, in case I missed this, if you see this sign and this warning sign, it's showing that the Blinks is not registered. So there are 3 levels, like I've explained here. If you read the guide, trusted, unregistered shows the orange. Then trusted will just be like blur, like this one. You can see it. So this site that I was using for it is, you see it, it doesn't have any. Because if not, even if you post it on Twitter, it will be giving people warning and people may be a bit scared to use it. So you want to try to register it in the Blinks registry, and then you want to check here as well. Then the third one is malicious. It will show red and warning. We're not even on 4 on some platform because they will block that site from showing at all. So I think we have the, let me see, dito.com/register, is it? So that's how you register the form that you fill. Once you have your blinks, you've tested it, make sure you use these two. Assuming I told you, assuming we tested this with not local site with it. That's why you should use that like ngok normal. It will give us breakdown to show you where there's error. So make sure you fix any error before you submit to increase your chances of approval. So I just did one recently, I got approved. So, and that's why there are a lot more that will be learning. And that's why teaching you this is not about just teaching. It's what I personally have done as well. And, seeing, got some feedback, learned a lot from it. And like I said, we'll be launching that game link, and maybe in future, I may do an in-depth course content like this to show you how to build more blinks. But like I said, all these content are not paid. So I just try at times to get grant support, maybe from Super Team and maybe Solana and things like that. So if I get them or blinks, then I will be encouraged to do more, because this content in-depth and takes a lot of energy, time, and resources. So that's it. Let me know you got question. What's your the questions you have? Let me know. Get through to the Discord, and then I will see you in the next one. I remain Solomon Foske. Keep the programming spirit high and alive. And the link will be in the description for you to go through a lot. And also there's a repo for you. I think there's a repo section there. Yeah, so there's a repo section for you to go through, so to have all this and just make use of them. That's it. Make sure you like the repo, then you can fork it if you need it as well, and also do the exercise that's there. So there's an exercise there. You submit it in the Discord, and that's help you learn more. That's it. Peace and bye.